This is an SM Media production.
Welcome, folks, to day 3 at the Euro 2024. I'm Scott McPike. It's a pleasure, as always, to be your host, and I'm delighted to welcome two very special guests tonight as we get through Sunday's action. It is a pleasure to welcome back onto the channel a friend of the show who's been on in the past. It's always a pleasure to get him on round about tournament time. It's a pleasure to welcome from Team of Our Lives. So obviously, you might recognise him from TikTok, Paolo Panini. It is Ollie Jenks.
How are you doing, sir? Nice to see you again.
It's very good to see you as well. There's been a lot happening since we last did a podcast together.
Oh, absolutely.
We will get into that kind of during the show. And it's a pleasure to welcome back on the show Robbie Boyd.
Great to be on again, Scott. Thank you very much.
No, always a pleasure, mate. Ollie, we love tournaments. We talk about tournaments a lot when we kind of do shows together. Tonight had a feel of an old England kind of tournament. It's never England never really start well in tournaments, and I thought first half tonight that was going to be different. I thought they played some really good stuff. I thought Saka and Bellingham were terrorising Serbia, to be honest. And then it just kind of seemed to kind of drift into the second half of, right, we're 1-0 up, let's just keep it solid and simple. And it was kind of the sum of the game, to be honest. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think it was at the last 10 opening tournament games that England haven't won, or there's some weird stat like that. We've never started well, and I knew that coming into this. If there's one thing I like more than any other kind of football, more than league football, it's international football is very much my thing. And kind of going into it, everything else kind of saying we're going to smash them 3-0. We've got nothing to worry about. We've got some of the greatest players. Yeah, we do have some of the greatest players. In my lifetime, it's the best England team ever assembled. It is the Avengers of England teams. But something happens when you take them to a foreign soil, and you know what I mean. They're kind of like a bit like Space Jam, you know, when you put your hand on the ball and all their magic powers go away. With the exception of Bellingham, I would admit he is. I've not seen a player like him since Zidane. Just the way he kind of caresses the ball, but yeah, I mean, I think we're quite lucky in retrospect that Denmark and Slovenia drew. I think that was probably more helpful than one of those teams winning. So it kind of puts less pressure on for the other games. But yeah, we never start tournaments well, and I was an anxious wreck all the way through. We needed another goal, and Kane was kind of man-marked the whole game, and I think that's why we didn't get it. I think it looked unlikely for Foden or Saka to even get a goal from there, and I think that's going to be our issue as well. I think a lot of people coming into the tournament beforehand were saying the defence is our issue, which it is, but I honestly don't know where the goals are going to come from, because as soon as we run out of ideas, we need to rely on the brilliance of Bellingham like we did tonight.
Robbie, I noticed something very interesting with England during the game. Obviously, the start was kind of 4-2-3-1. Alexander-Arnold was playing alongside Rice, and then there was a wee part where they drifted into a kind of 3-3-5, like a 3 at the back, and then like obviously Saka would kind of play as the wing back, and Trippier would get forward a bit. It kind of allowed Foden to tuck inside as well. He then changed it again to sort of a 4-3-3, which I thought was bizarre, where he had Rice kind of playing as the kind of holder and let Alexander-Arnold drift. And Foden, I don't think he looks comfortable. He was out and out on the left. He was trying to tuck in a lot. Yes, it's good changing it if you've got the flexibility and you're trying new things. And it was probably helped tonight with the fact that the defence didn't have a lot to do first half. But when it got to the second half, there was a bit of a strange feel to the way they set up England. It was more just try and contain Serbia and invite Serbia pressure. When watching on Friday night, I thought first half Serbia had a kind of Scotland feel to them, where they were just so they were allowing so much pockets of space. But in the second half, Serbia came into the game, and I think it was more to do with the kind of personnel change of England. But overall with Serbia, I think they can take credit. I do think Serbia can do pretty well this tournament. I was quite encouraged by them second half, to be honest.
Absolutely, I think they've got they've got players and they've got the experience.
Yeah,
again, obviously similar to yourself, Scott, and with the greatest disrespect in the world, Ollie, we're obviously going to look at it from an opposition point of view against you guys. You know, again, obviously, I mean that with all due respect there. So looking at it from a Serbia point of view, it's interesting what you were saying there, Scott. I thought when England changed to the back three, I thought that's probably was their best spell in the game. And if I'm right in saying that's when they scored the goal, because the ball got switched out to Trippier, it came into the middle, it got fired out to Saka, and I'm looking at, I think it was Kostic who was playing on the left side at that point, and I'm screaming at him, you need to make that, intercept that ball. And as soon as Saka got the ball, I'm like, even though it was on his right side, I'm like, it's in. It's in. As soon as he puts that ball across the box, either Kane or Bellingham's there, and it, kind of it came off them. And it was a good move for England. I thought they looked comfortable in the back three. And again, that was Southgate's first kind of formation that he played in the 2018 World Cup, wasn't it? That was always his kind of go-to, was that kind of 3-5-2 with the two holding and then the three in front. And I think that's when England looked the most comfortable in the game. And you mentioned about Serbia there. Maybe it was just kind of towards the end of the game and I was noticing it, but when they brought on Jovic, they kind of sat him kind of just behind Mitrovic, and I feel that the gaps that had opened up in that middle of the park, I think Milinkovic Savic had far too much ground to cover on his own. I don't think he had enough support in that midfield for him, because when they were throwing all kind of caution to the wind towards the last 10-15 minutes of the game, I felt they looked really, really disjointed, and again lost that discipline, which probably gave them the platform to maybe kind of give England a bit of a fright during that game.
Ollie, England, there's a lot of chat on social media just when I'm seeing here through the game and just after the game's finished. Obviously, we're recording this literally like minutes after the game's finished, and I really am surprised. I'm not surprised with what Southgate's getting, because I think there always will be that continued that England support who really don't rate him, and I get why, but it's a win. It's a win. It's a solid start. There's not really many negatives to take out of that. Like, defence looked pretty fine. I thought Gay had a good game. Like,
Yes.
I don't really see what the issue is here. Like,
Is he getting a load of flack? Is he? Like,
yeah.
I've not like I've been banging Southgate's drum for a long time, and I'm his number one fan. He's given me the happiest moments of my life, and he's been the greatest English manager in my lifetime. If you ever go back all the way back to the days of Sir Alf Ramsey, he's got the most wins under England manager because he was England manager for so long. You're not going to win anything by chopping and changing managers. You look at Joachim Löw with Germany, took him a while. Scolari, you go back to those Brazil days, he was always rotating in around those teams. And Didier Deschamps, he's been at France, nearly 8 years. So, to win tournaments, you've got to be there a while. And it's defensive. Historically, it's defensive teams that win tournaments as well. I don't understand. I think it is just I don't even think it's a tactical thing with Southgate. It is just this pressure thing, because for some reason, we got this great thing that happened in 1966. And it's embedded into our history, and it goes down for your fathers and your father's father. This one day where everything was fine, and the buses ran on time, and everyone got on, and a pint was £2 or whatever, and it was this glorious summer's day in 1966, and it just gets entrenched into you. And ever since then, it's just been nothing but turmoil, and why can't we have anything nice?
Ollie, can I ask you a question from kind of outside looking in, just when you're mentioning Southgate and how your kind of opinion on it, it's not a tactical thing. Do you think he gets the best out of players in positions they should be playing in? Because Scott raised a great point about Foden. I think the three of us could sit here and wax lyrical about how he is a number 10. He is a number 10. Do you feel, and again, I'm not turning it into a Scotland-England thing, but I'm just trying to use it as an example. Do you think Southgate could be a bit more dynamic and maybe change the shape of the team to help players play in a more natural position for them? Because again, you always look back, for me, I'll always look back to that golden generation and how Scholes was shoved out to wide left when they really could have played a narrow midfield three. Do you think that there is a possibility for 2 10s to be played in that system?
Yeah, you could too, but again, it goes back to that thing of historically defensive teams winning tournaments, isn't it? And then you got to compromise somewhere else. I agree. I think Foden should be behind someone up top, like he does similar for Man City. But then who are you going to put out on the left? And we know Foden's played on the left before. If you go back a few years for Man City, he was regularly scoring goals on that part, as was Raheem Sterling before him. And I think he's one of the most unsung players of England over the last 5 years. Raheem Sterling got a lot of respect for that guy. But you are right. Yes, he is stubborn, and he's probably not the most dynamic tactical manager there is. But there's plenty of managers who aren't that and have won major trophies. And go back to the Fabio Capello days, one of the best club managers that ever existed, some of the worst football we've ever played. And you go back to Sven before then as well. You said the golden generation himself at the time with Lazio, considered one of the best kind of club managers. And I like Sven. He played some good football, some good games, but he was a quarter finalist at best. So yeah, tactically things can improve, and we've certainly got the players, but I think it goes deeper than that. And yeah, there's no point in changing things halfway through a tournament.
Ollie, I think we do have to mention obviously the talent that is Jude Bellingham now.
Yeah.
You've said something very interesting, that he's the best English talent. Like, it's frightening to think he's 20 years of age. Like, just the way they are. Although it's maybe unnecessary, but see the thing where I think it was Kostic he kind of squared up to, and there's like a couple of bits where you're just like, you're unbelievable for what you are, your age. Like, he is so impressive though, like the way the ground he makes up to score that header, and just the kind of the movement he has, I think is just sublime. Robbie obviously makes an interesting point about Foden. Can you play Foden and Bellingham to get Bellingham in the same team? Yeah, you can. The thing that was also impressed me was Saka was obviously covering a lot of width. You need that width in that England side, like you do. Palmer didn't come on. Gordon is probably a left-sided player as well. There is probably a way to do it. Like, I think Rice is going to have to do a lot in this tournament, just because I think once it gets deeper into the tournament, the defence is going to come unstuck a wee bit. As we saw tonight, it was there. Vlahovic was getting a lot of joy out the back line as well. There's options there in that England team, and Southgate's obviously trying different things during a game. Bellingham, though, I mean, Bellingham's the man in this side. Like, he has just taken this. He is just a supreme talent that I don't think we have seen since that golden generation. Like, he's just so impressive at everything he does. Like, especially tonight as well. The touch map, I think he's 197 touches he had between both boxes. That's superb for a player of his level. Like, he has just taken this team to another level.
Absolutely. I think again, the way he plays as well. It's ironic he's got the number 5 for Real Madrid as well, because it's very similar to Zidane in the way he kind of manipulates the ball. I was at the England-Belgium game a few weeks back, and again, he got the winning goal then as well. And he just lifts, whether he's playing for Madrid, Birmingham City, Dortmund, or England. He just managed to. I don't know how he does it. He's just got this gravitas that pulls everyone else in the same direction. I'm not convinced by Anthony Gordon. He said playing him on the left. I don't know. I'm not convinced by him. Cole Palmer, I think so, but I think he plays more on the right for Chelsea. Yeah. I think Jared Bowen might be able to play on left. To be fair, I think he's got the energy, and he's got that kind of like a terrier dog kind of appetite in towards if he never stops. I think that might be an option as well. But yeah, in terms of Bellingham, I think if he gets injured, that's our tournament over. Really, I can't see anyone else doing what he does.
Robbie, are you convinced that England can go on and win this? Because I do think they've got sublime talent middle to front. Like, it's just a case of fitting them all into the one side. But again, tonight I thought the defence came on start. I thought Pickford actually done fine for somebody who's very vocal about him. I thought Trent actually did okay in the middle of the park. You can see at times he can get caught very unstuck in certain areas, but that is just natural. He's not a natural midfielder. But I thought overall tonight, like, although second half was pretty just get the result and go home, I didn't think it was too bad a start, to be honest. I don't get where this is coming from, all this drama.
Yeah, it was all right. They did the job. Hopefully they don't go on to do it. But but do you know what? I know we're speaking about Bellingham and we're mentioning the midfield too, and I do feel obliged to say that to kind of mention this boy's name. I really liked Conor Gallagher when he came on.
Yeah,
I thought when he came on, he just, again, when you're watching the game for 70 minutes before he came on, he's able to kind of get a picture in his head. And when the sub was made, I was like, right, okay, it's a good move, because like you say about Alexander-Arnold, I do think he's more progressive in the middle, but he does get caught in that kind of two-mind situation, whereas, it's an unfamiliar position to him. I do think it's one that he can go on and he can master, absolutely, but I think Conor Gallagher trains well. I think he maybe whether he starts the last group game and then goes on to get the last 16, I don't know. But I was really impressed by him tonight in the bit part that he played. I just thought he came into the game and he was able to take it for what it was and draw those couple of fouls and just kind of slow the pace down, because the commentators were mentioning it as well. I think it was Foden himself who managed to win a foul, just got up, took the free kick straight away, and that was minute 85, 86 or something, if I'm right in saying. So I think the internal game management, and this isn't a slight on Southgate, on the players themselves, they need to be able to really kind of master that, because I was impressed with the Serbian left wing back, Miladic, I think. He was putting in a couple of wicked balls. And I think if Labic was a wee bit more kind of on his toes, and then you seen the last chance Serbia had, Milinkovic Savic and I can't remember his name. They both get kind of stuck in each other's way. So if you're looking at, and if that is, last 16 against a Portugal or whoever, it could be a different outcome. But England got the job done. I think they played well. And again, I don't think you can complain with a 1-0. I wasn't buying into the whole, like Ollie said, it's going to be 3-0, it's going to be 3-0, because Serbia do have players of a European Championship caliber. They do. They've got players playing at high levels in Italy. Saudi League. Obviously Mitrovic doing what he's done in the English game. So they do come with a streetwise reputation, and I don't think they can be ashamed of that performance today at all. Maybe on a different day they would have got something from it, but then from an England point of view, maybe England could have got another goal down the line. But I think 1-0 across the piece is definitely a fair result.
Ollie, obviously, like in terms of kind of the wider picture of the tournament, we've seen Germany really put a team to the sword. I thought Spain were very good yesterday as well. Like, is this England team capable of that, do you think, like the more the tournament goes on? Because next two games, Denmark obviously will be chasing a result. Slovenia, I thought, kind of shaped up pretty well today. Like, in terms of the wider picture of this tournament, where do England sit?
Well, I don't think they'll play like Germany or Spain because, as we mentioned off air, so to speak, like there's certain teams, Germany, Spain, Italy, just have a certain fluidity to them, and they could have their B team out, and they all play this with the same sort of fluidity. England are kind of steering with one hand, and then doing something else with the other. They're not kind of that. They've never, as long as I can remember watching England at international tournaments, they've never been fluid. They've never gone in waves like as I said, a North Korean band or something. But Spain have just got that fluidity. It doesn't matter who's playing. They've all come through like the same academies and they all kind of know each other. With England, it's a little bit different. They're all kind of sparse, and I think there's still fierce rivalries behind the scenes as well, and a certain bit of who knows bestism. So it'd be interesting to see how it develops. I've got us going out in the quarterfinals, to be perfectly honest with you. I think we do have to beat a good team at some point. Going by tonight's result, I don't see us doing that. And even before that as well, I just don't think. I think who's going to get the goals? I think Kane internationally hasn't scored that many recently, although his club career is going pretty well.
Yeah.
He seems to be dropping off a bit, and I think that's because whenever he plays, he's getting man marked, or he's got a couple of people limping on him, or for crosses and for corners, people are just surrounding him. So it's difficult for Kane to kind of be what he's best at doing, really. But what do you guys think, from obviously being Scotland supporters? Where do you think realistically England will finish?
I just think it depends on who they get. If they do, like, they'll top the group. Again, I've got real concerns if they come up against a France. I just think that matchup's all wrong. We saw that 2 years ago, like in Qatar. The midfield was kind of where the game was won, to be honest. Like, I don't think. I've been very vocal on the preview and things like that. This England team should be. They're the right favourites because they have so much attacking talent. But looking at the way from a tactical perspective, yes, it's good having all that talent, but you need to fit them all in some way, and I'm not sure Southgate can do that yet. Now, Ollie, the one thing I want to jump on with you is, tonight I saw a lot of people saying, Rashford should be in the side. You can't be going there after one game. It's Rashford and Grealish, I didn't understand it when it was announced. Like, I didn't understand.
He was given it. Yeah, it's weird, really, because a lot of people gave him a lot of praise for dropping Grealish and Rashford. I understand him dropping Rashford because I think his
I get Rashford.
attitude,
Grealish, I didn't
he's
get
not been
at all.
there. Although Rashford, to his credit, has been very good for England on that left-hand side over the last few years, even when he's been out of form. And you go back to 2018, 2019, Rashford was one of our best players. He was scoring goals against outside the box against Costa Rica, etc. Grealish on the other hand, was a bit of a weird one. I would have took him because just because of his technical ability with the ball at the feet, and he draws fouls. I would have took him. I can understand him not taking him on form, but that's why Southgate can't win, because he's been criticised for that before. He's like, he should be taking people on form.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that now. You should be taking Grealish. He can't win. He's a double-edged sword for him, really. So I do feel for him in that respect. So I think this is potentially his last tournament, and he has finally pandered to the fans who said, right, you should be playing players in form and who've had a good season. Okay, he's done that, and then he's going to get criticised. I think if you're Southgate, you can't win. But it'd be nice. I think with Denmark and Slovenia coming up, I think those guys, as those teams, pressure's on them to get points, especially with the third place best finisher. I think those games will open up more, and then that's when your Fodens, your Sakas, and your Bellinghams will take advantage and slip the ball in. I want to see Watkins get minutes, and I think he'd be able to make this tournament his own and finally replace Kane in the next 5 to 10 years.
Robbie, on to the other group game on Sunday in Group D. We saw Slovenia 1, Denmark 1. Two really interesting stories to take out of this. Obviously, Christian Eriksen, miraculous story coming back from where he was 3 years ago to score Denmark's goal in the tournament. Really, really inspirational story. I didn't think a lot of Denmark today. I didn't think a lot of them get into the tournament. I've left with the thing of Slovenia could potentially be going under the radar here in this group, because the way they came back, I think a lot of credit has to go to them to get a point out of this game. Overall, probably a fair result, but I take a lot more out of Slovenia than I do from Denmark.
Yeah, maybe it's just kind of that kind of glass half full from me. I think we as in Scotland need to kind of take a bit of inspiration from what Slovenia did against Denmark there, because you're looking at that kind of performance, and that's probably a similar nation to ourselves. I really expected more of Denmark, like you said, Scott. I really did. And you take Eriksen out of that team, and I just didn't see it. I didn't see it today. But Slovenia definitely played really, really well, especially in that second half.
Ollie, every single team that's went a goal down in the tournament has come back and really threatened in the second half, apart from one team who me and Robbie are basically still haunted by. Sides aren't taking it. Like, there's been a lot of early goals in this tournament, and I think with Scotland just again showed that they were just not really equipped for this level yet. But Slovenia showed a lot in that second half, got a really good goal. Benjamin Sesko is somebody I've raved about in the channel for a long time. He's a superstar in the making. He's raw, but when it clicks for him, he's going to be special.
Yeah, well, my fantasy team name is Sesko. Every little helps. So, Slovenia got a good spine, and I think with smaller nations who've got a smaller talent pool and smaller populations and stuff, I think sticking use old school football, so to speak, but it's a good spine they've got going down the middle, and I think if you just get the basics right, that's what they stuck to, and they were quite tenacious as well. I think they're coming upon somewhat of their golden generation away as well. And they've got a mixed bag of experience there as well. They're a tournament team, aren't they? Remember Euro 2000, 2002 World Cup. They're a tournament team, similar to Serbia in many respects. They're hard to beat, and it all clicks to them as well. Again, with these smaller nations, these players have all played together at a youth level under 21 with England, because there's so many different clubs and so many different academies, etc. These players don't really have that time to gel. It's my theory. But in smaller nations where they all come up through the same clubs in Slovenia, you've got like Maribor and those teams, they all know each other and all play together and kind of all know of each other a lot more, and don't have that arrogance that I think England players do sometimes of thinking they're the one or whatever. So play to their strengths a bit more. But I'm excited to see how Slovenia get on. Not excited to play them. I think it'll be similar to the Serbia game for England, unless those pockets open up because they're desperate for the points.
Yeah.
I mean, with Oblak in goal as well, probably one of the best keepers there's ever been. It'll be interesting to see how it takes. And very disappointing from Denmark as well. Obviously, Christian Eriksen, as you rightly mentioned, fantastic story, and they've got some great players, Denmark as well. Still, but yeah, I struggle to see where their goals are going to come from as well if they played like they did today.
Obviously, Robbie, with a draw in the first game, it immediately makes your second game so much more important. Denmark obviously have England, who, when you're chasing a game, I think if you let this England team have space, they will exploit it. Slovenia, Serbia, I think, could be quite an interesting matchup because both sides are needing points. Like, I think the second round of fixtures is going to be very, very interesting in this group.
I do think it's very much the kind of old adage, Scott, where when Slovenia and Serbia play each other, or when Serbia and Denmark play each other, it's a 6-pointer for them both.
Yeah.
Because I think they are so evenly matched. England are the favourites in that group because they're the favourites in the tournament. Fair enough. But I think the three of them, it's a toss of a coin for who finishes second, third between the three of them, and obviously fourth as well. I think they're so evenly matched. It's unbelievable. And it's... like you say, when Slovenia and Serbia play each other, it could be 4-0 or 4 each.
Mm-hmm.
It could genuinely go either way. But there's interesting enough. There's probably not a lot to take away from that first game that each of them have played to say, do you know what, you'd fancy one over the other.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move into the game in Group D. We saw Poland versus the Netherlands finish 2-1 to the Dutch, coming from behind. Ollie, we'll start with Poland in terms of the way they started. Obviously, without Lewandowski, they went for a 3-5-2, took the lead. Again, another kind of early goal in the game from the boy Buksa. Obviously, a good header in terms of Poland. And again, the Dutch grew into the game, and I thought the Dutch were actually quite good in the end up. But you've got to hand it to Poland again. Like, the way they set up again, none of these teams are afraid apart from Scotland. Like, it's so annoying. Like, it's properly riling me. Like, the only team that have looked horrendous in this tournament are Scotland.
No comment. Relatively. I found this game relatively similar to the England game tonight, to be fair, where England started really well, Netherlands started really well. We got Memphis to pie up to his old tricks and kind of showboating a bit, and you thought it was going to be a bit of a walkover, especially with no Lewandowski. And then the early goal just kind of flips it on its head. And I was impressed with Poland, to be fair, because it's got a lot of players in there, like Zelinski I've kind of heard of, but it's got a lot of players in there who've been in and around that Polish team for quite a while, but no one really to shout home about to no lesser degree. But they played really well. Were really stubborn as well, I thought. Got pretty good defence. Again, similar to Slovenia, got one of the world's best goalkeepers in there. Wojciech Szczesny as well. He's pretty decent. And again, a good decent spine as well. And if they got Lewandowski coming back for this tournament, I think they'll push to maybe qualify if they're lucky, particularly in that third place spot. I know it's a difficult group as well. And the Netherlands, I was really impressed by as well. They were my kind of I wouldn't say underdogs or dark horses, more like a light grey horse, I guess. They've got some really good players. Gakpo, I've put a few quid on him to be top goal scorer. Just comes in from the left and just makes stuff happen. And yeah, I think it was quite a dominating performance from the Netherlands all in all. I think the scoreline probably doesn't justify how good they were. But yeah, all credit to Poland as well. They're just a very systemic team. And again, I'm going to keep saying it, but another one of these good tournament teams, a bit like Switzerland and Serbia, they're always there and got every chance of making it to a quarter final if they defensively set up right like they did today. They were just a bit unlucky, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing, obviously, with the Netherlands, Robbie, is they've got a lot of depth in defence. Like, we see that, obviously, like, the more the tournament goes on, I think they'll use that to their advantage. But I want to single out a player who I think has really shown a lot today in a different way to how he's kind of used at Liverpool. I thought Gakpo today, with that kind of free role he had, I thought was excellent. Like, I really think he will be the one. Like, looking at, not saying that Klopp wasted him, I'm not saying that at all. What I mean by what I'm going to say here is that I can see Gakpo being one of the focal points for Liverpool going forward. Like, I think he is that player, you have to build your kind of front line around him. And again, takes his goal well. Obviously, gets a little bit of help. In Gakpo today, like Siemens as well. I thought the whole Dutch team, like they were really strong in possession, but Gakpo was kind of the focal point, wasn't he?
I agree with both of you. I'm sitting here nodding away, and I'm like, this will be a nightmare for Scott to edit, because I'm just going. I really liked the way Holland started that opening 12 minutes before the goal. I'm thinking, by the way, this can be 3 or 4 here. The one thing that I really in my head, I'm watching it. I'm sitting in KFC watching it, and I'm like, right, I need to mention this in the podcast. See the rotation between Gakpo, Simons, and Depay, frightening, by the way. Frightening, by the way. See if they get the combinations right. And for me, if Holland get to a quarterfinals or a semi-finals, they need to get a midfield combination right. Because, like you say, they've got an embarrassment of riches in defence. Even I was looking at the remind me of his name, the Tottenham centre half.
Van de Ven.
Van de Ven. The fact he's not even starting in that back three. Do you know what I mean? The front three is really good. I'll go back to your Gakpo point. I feel it's a kind of, we were speaking about Foden earlier. I feel it's a kind of Foden thing in reverse when, like you're saying, he's been underutilised with Liverpool and then coming into the international fray and being used correctly. I really think I really rated Holland, especially that opening 10 minutes, and I didn't really kind of worry for them when they did go behind. Do you know what I mean? I thought they were really good. And I do think they will go deep in the competition. And again, they are that kind of historical quarterfinal, semi-final, odd final nation. Maybe they might not quite be their year, but I definitely do have high hopes and lofty expectation for them.
Yeah. Ollie, I'm not a massive Ronald Koeman fan, as I think you can probably gather from the last time we were talking about tournaments, but I think one thing we've got to give him credit to is that they were needing a vocal point up front in the last kind of 10, 15 minutes, and Wout Weghorst has been that guy for them in the past, and he was I think he takes his goal well. He's the sort of guy, like Wout Weghorst is very, I find him very similar to Giroud. Like, he's not going to get you 8 or 9 goals in a tournament, but if you're needing a goal, he's as good a guy to turn to as MD in that team, to be honest.
Yeah, he's done it before in tournaments as well, isn't he? And I get what you mean with Koeman as well. He's kind of like I suppose he's got a bit of the Southgates about him to a certain degree. But it's that thing when you've got the longer you're at an international club and managing that club, I think the better you'll do over time. You go through phases and dips and stuff, but ultimately you'll gain that experience, and those tend to be the managers that win the World Cups and the European Championships. But yeah, Weghorst, it's still in the books at Burnley, by the way.
Yeah, it is,
which is just bizarre. So things in football don't make sense anymore to me.
But all reports says his countryman Ruud van Nistelrooy could be taken over. So
interesting.
I could see him getting used.
So I think he was playing Hoffenheim this season.
Yeah,
without Weghorst, and he's done pretty well by all accounts as well, from what I understand as well.
Yeah.
But then they've always had players like Luke De Jong, the Seville striker as well, was kind of doing that similar sort of role, maybe to not as better effect. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. The Dutch always have good options off the bench and kind of local points. I do think they could be pretty going under the radar here. Right, on to Monday's action. We've got 3 more games to cover. We will start with the 2:00 game. Robbie, we've got Romania versus Ukraine. Romania, very solid in qualifying, but they have kind of went off the 4-match winless run, including draws with Bulgaria and Liechtenstein. Ukraine, on the other hand, have been very consistent as of late. They've had decent results against Germany, Italy, and England. I really fancy Ukraine to do quite well in the tournament. If you listen to the preview, I had them as my dark horses. I think they'll go off to a winning start. I think they are very rock solid to pick up a win here.
I think so. I mean, obviously, when we played them in the World Cup qualifying campaign, I do think they've found their niche since then. They've got guys like Mudryk, they've got guys like Dovbyk. I think Malinovsky in the midfield are really right. Again, I watched a lot of Italian football. I like him from distance. Obviously Zinchenko being that kind of main man. Is it interesting to point out? Is he still been playing in that midfield 3?
I think he's been playing more left back for them lately.
Again, wherever he plays, I think he will be the kind of man to lean on and kind of inspire them on. And I do think, yeah, I do see Ukraine coming out of a group for sure. But again, I don't think Romania should be pushovers because, like you say, they did well in qualifying up until they probably made it. And maybe it was a case of foot off the gas. But I do think that they got a real blend of experience and real youth in that team.
Yeah. Ollie, where do you see this game going?
Yeah, as soon as you, Scott, I had Ukraine's my dark horses as well, and I think they can make the quarterfinals again. Yeah, as Robbie said as well, they've just got a really experienced team. Mikalenko as well, I think, is really, really good, especially similar to Zinchenko, just wears his heart on his sleeve when he plays internationally as well. Having said that, Romania, as you said, have been quite stubborn in the past and during qualifying as well. I don't think it'll be particularly high scoring, but I think Ukraine might nick it, probably 1-0.
On to 5 o'clock, we have Belgium versus Slovakia. Belgium, probably the last dance of this golden generation. We're beginning to see the break-up of it. I think they're a difficult team to assess going into this tournament, Robbie, but I do think they'll have enough for Slovakia. De Bruyne is there, Lukaku, Doku, I think, has been really, really consistent. The back line's a worry, but don't really see much of Slovakia. I can see Belgium winning this quite narrowly.
Yeah, I mean, I'll always go back to that Belgium team of 2016 and how they kind of personally, for me, encapsulated my imagination. Obviously, we were perennial non-qualifiers, so if Scotland didn't make it, I was always kind of looking to Belgium to do well. I don't think they will have enough to win it. I do think it's just going to be another kind of England, a la England 2002, 2010, where just somehow it just doesn't happen for them. And it really, really will rankle and baffle me how that this team haven't done it. Like you say, it will be that for me, where they do lose, it will be the back line. I'm not the biggest fan of Wout Faes.
No.
I just don't. But again, I'm looking at that from somebody that watched Belgium with the likes of Vertonghen and Alderweireld. You're not going to be able to replace that. I do see them winning it again narrowly, maybe a 2-1 or a 1-0, but I think it's going to be a kind of last 16. More than likely, I think, am I right in saying the way the brackets might go, they might end up facing England, depending on where they finish?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think so.
I don't see them going past yourselves, or even if it kind of into that kind of grudge rivalry match, be it against a Holland or a France. I don't see them surpassing them. So I do look at Belgium as getting out of the group, but that'll be it for them.
Ollie, where are you with this Belgium side? Because I think Robbie's right. I mean, the talent they've had, they should have been at least to a final. Like, you would probably say, like, it'd be a very Belgium thing if they were to actually go quite far now when it's kind of in the middle and broken up. They've got the talent now to go quite far.
You know what, Scott? I wouldn't put it past them.
No.
They've still got some great players in that squad. Yeah, it's not the squad of 5 years ago or 2018 World Cup. They finished third, didn't they? But yeah, as you said, you mentioned Doku. I think he's a game changer, and he's not really, in the last couple of years has been fully in depth and embedded into this squad. I think Tielemans is still really, really good and really does a job for them as well. Again, to that spine. The person they haven't really replaced, you kind of touched on it with Vertonghen and Alderweireld, is Vincent Kompany.
Yeah.
I think just that solid kind of captain and leader at the back and creating that spine, with Courtois in goal or whoever's going to be in goal for them. I think Courtois is not at all, is he?
Casteels, it plays very well.
Steele's still a good keeper, and it's still that spine as well. I think Belgium will probably. I think they're going to walk Slovakia personally. I think they're a tournament team they're very cohesive and they work together really well. A lot of these players have played with each other for a long time as well, and I think they've got that experience in that kind of first game of the tournament. Just to, nothing to worry about, boys. Same as usual. I think it's when they get to the later stages when they'll start, worrying. Real question is where the goals are going to come from. Tielemans, again, I said to you, I was at the England-Belgium game. Tielemans scored 2 from outside the box. He's got that in him. Doku needs to score a few more goals this tournament, I think, to be up there with the elite wingers in European football. See anything really lacking from him internationally. Lukaku's solid as well, but he's not been the Lukaku of old. So it'll be interesting. And, they have left a lot of typical Belgian players behind, such as Batshuayi, a few other players as well. So it'll be interesting. I think they'll walk this game, though.
Interesting. We'll move into 8 o'clock. I think that's going to be quite an interesting matchup, actually. Austria versus France. Obviously, France were excited to see the World Cup finalists get off to their start. We've obviously got Mbappe. They're stacked with talent. Austria, though, are no mugs, Robbie. Like they're coming into this tournament in the middle of a 7-match unbeaten streak. They've beaten Turkey 6-1. They've beaten Germany 2-0. They've scored 9 in the last 3 games. France aren't the best at the back at the moment. One thing I will say, I think France will win, but I wouldn't rule out both teams scoring here. I think this could be quite a goal fest. I'm going to go for like 3-2 maybe or something, like France. I think this could be quite a good game.
I think it will be. I do see both teams scoring, and I think the name of this podcast is just the fact that we keep mentioning, you know, these teams that are in the same bracket, they just constantly get to tournaments. Slovenia, Slovakia, Austria, Denmark. They know how to get there, and they know how to perform well.
And they set up to play well, and they set up to give themselves justice. Not like us.
And that's where, you know, I see Austria in that, you know, the likes of Konrad, Leimer, Schlager, a really, really decent, you know, last 16, finishing second in the group team. For me, the biggest issue for France is Koundé going to play right back or centre half?
Mm-hmm.
I think they need to figure that out for sure. I think the left side of the defence is sorted, be it Lucas and or Theo Hernandez on that left side. You know, but for me, is it going to be a 3? Is it going to be a 4? Where does Koundé play? And that will kind of, you know, that's the biggest question for France for me going forward. Yeah, it's scary, and it is some sort of super team they've got. But yeah, it could easily be a 4-3 or a 4-1.
Ollie, I always like hearing La Marseillaise when it comes on, and it always means that I think that's when the tournament really kicks off, when you hear that immortal French anthem. We know the talent the French have. Yeah, really tough to find any flaws in them, but I think it's right. I think it depends on how they set up at the back. I think that, well, all reports kind of seen today, I think Deschamps is keen to go with Kante, and I think that balance will be perfect for that midfield. It's who plays alongside Kante that I'm intrigued by. I think, is it going to be Tchouameni? Is it going to be Camavinga? Is it going to be Rabiot? There's 3 options there, and they're all fairly decent.
Does it matter? Yeah, I don't think it really matters. Yeah, it's interesting. I think France are going to walk this game quite easily. I think they're full of confidence, and so should they be. It's been a team that's been together for a while. Having said that, France have also historically had one tournament in every 3 where they've blown up.
Yeah.
A la 2002, 2010. This team, however, seems no signs of slowing down. Yeah, who's going to get the goals in this team though? Giroud, Griezmann, Mbappe. They're going to sprinkle it upon people like a machine gun. I think there's so much talent, attacking talent, and goals can come from anywhere, even the midfield. Yeah, it's they're favourites for a reason. I think they've got to win it. They've got to win it. I can't see how they don't. I don't see what beats them, which is quite depressing. But but we'll see. I'm hoping Austria, again, they've got a good team, good spine. Alaba, Gartlinger, Schlager, as you said. I don't know how Austria are going to score against that French team that are too organised. And that one thing the French have been really good at the last few tournaments is their passing and just possession-based football, which has been superb. So be interesting to see how Austria counteract that, and if, it's a very good chance England play them after the group stages. So I'll be watching with a keen eye for any weaknesses.
Yeah, absolutely. But we are very much in Euro fever. It's been a very, very fascinating weekend. Show will take a break for a couple of days. We'll be having our Euro 2024 diary that will kick off on Tuesday, where we'll cover the 3 games in Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we'll be back obviously on Wednesday night for Scotland-Switzerland recap, which could be quite painful if it's to go as we fear. To my 2 guests tonight, it's been an absolute pleasure. First of all, with Ollie Jenks, thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it as ever.
Always a pleasure. And to Robbie Boyd, thank you very much, mate. We'll see you soon.
Really grateful to be on again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, folks. We'll catch you all later.